All right, we're recording. Welcome, Symmetry Nation. I'm seeing people pour in here. Give it a second. My name is Elijah Corujo. I'm a key leader here with us, direct to Grant Reynolds and Chris Cook in the Chris Cook organization. I have with us today incredible agency director with us out of Maricopa County, Arizona, boss woman, direct to Ashley Tarr in the Danny Young hierarchy, Melissa Banning, and we're going to be covering a new lead type. We're going to be covering telesales. We're going to be covering pitfalls and how to avoid them. And we're going to give you guys some solid nuggets that you can go out and apply today to transform your business, put money in your bank account next week, and help a bunch of families that you don't know how to help yet. And so we're going to jump right into it. Melissa, tell us a little bit when you got started with Internet A-Leads. They're a new lead that we're generating. Were you super successful with them right out the gate? Was it a little bit challenging? Be super transparent with the crowd out here.
Yeah, it was, and please bear with me. I have a little frog this morning, so I'm going to try my best to talk with full volume. So I was a part of the pilot program. So I received my first digital lead on April 26, 2019. And I'll never forget it. I called the woman right away. And she literally cussed me out, told me she didn't do it and she didn't fill it out and she didn't request any information, just to take her off the list, and that she would not buy water from me if she was on fire. And she used very choice words. So I immediately had this anxiety with this type of lead. And I, from April 2019 until July 22nd of this year, so 2020, I closed 0 out of 10. I've received 10 total, and I closed 0 out of them. And on the 22nd of July, I actually emailed the lead department, and I talked to Pam Fair and Maitland, and I just said, hey, not to be the squeaky wheel, but something's not right here. I'm calling on these. I have not closed one. Like, is there any way to take them out of my GMR? I don't know what I'm doing wrong. You know, they just don't seem to be actual leads. And Pam so kindly wrote back to me and said, actually, there's a better close ratio with those than with direct mail. And when we receive that, it's called by someone here in the corporate office to kind of weed out anyone who didn't fill it out actually, or mistakenly stumbled upon it on our website. But those are people that are looking for mortgage insurance, and we're responding within 24 hours. Well, at the time I was running appointments in Maricopa County, Arizona, which is the 5th largest county in the US. It would take me between an hour and an hour and a half to get to one appointment. It's just such a huge, huge, huge county. And so I was just rushing from appointment to appointment, and trying to get 6 or 7 in a day was nearly impossible with the distance that I had to travel in between. And so I wasn't really paying attention to the fact that these were, call within no later than 24 hours, no more than 24 hours. I was calling them on my dial days. So I would get one on Tuesday and call on it on Thursday or Friday. And so to me, that was calling on them right away. That's my dial day. But I certainly was missing the point of the 24-hour window. And so it was humbling. I kind of gathered my thoughts on it and thought, okay, I can no longer blame these leads. I have to really take ownership for that. I missed that in the busyness of running. I missed that. So what can I do differently? And I decided to become super savage with these. As soon as they come in, you get a text message and you get an email. As soon as I get them, I call on it. And that completely has changed my business. Since July 22nd, I've closed 6 out of 8, and the 2 that I didn't close were because of health reasons, or because of things that disqualified them from doing what they wanted to do because of age or health. And so, but for everyone else, they're excited to receive the phone call and they're expecting the phone call. So.
Yeah. And that was something, you said something really key here. Give me 1 second. I'm just muting group chats. Gotta love them. You said something that was really key, and that was take ownership. I'm going to take ownership on them. And I don't know who said it on the call yesterday, but I wrote it down. They said, if you're still emotional about the result, you haven't done enough yet. I think it might have been Ryan Miller who said that, or no, I think it was John Paul actually. And it sounded like at first you got upset because you were getting these leads and it was like, what the heck's going on? Like, I just got this, it's an A lead. Why are they upset with me? I had that same level of emotion as well, where it didn't work out how I wanted to. And the make or break between people who get great results out the gate or take a while to acclimate is a level of adaptability and how much are you willing to take ownership and responsibility for it. And so tell us a little bit, Melissa. I get a lot of questions about phone scripts. Everybody wants the magic bullet phone script. And on the Symmetry website under training, there's the best script. And I know there's a couple different phone scripts out there kind of circling around, but they all have adapted from the best phone script and people are just adding fine tweaks. Now, one of the most significant game changers I know you and I talked about was something that you changed a little bit on the phone script that made a really big difference.
Yes.
So for all the new people out there who are just getting internet A leads or want to, because they're probably all going to get bought up after this call, what do you say different on your phone script when you're calling an internet A lead versus, say, a bonus lead or a call-in or one of those?
Excellent. No, thank you. So the first thing, and I know this maybe sound redundant for people who've been here for a while, but one thing that sometimes people miss is that we dial at Symmetry 3 times in a row. And I know that I missed out on that in the beginning. I was just like afraid to get to that third call because that was typically when people picked up and they're like, why are you, what do you, they were, on guard. But it really does work. And so with these, when I say I'm savage, I call 3 times in a row as soon as I get the lead within, sometimes it's a couple hours if I have an interview or something or another family that I'm serving, but within a short period of time after I receive the digital lead. I pick up the phone, I dial it 3 times in a row. If they don't answer on that third dial, I'll put it aside, and then I'll put a reminder in my phone to do it in another half hour or within an hour. So they're going to receive 6 dials from me within 1 hour. And by the 6th one, I know, and by the 6th one, if they don't pick up, this is the only type of lead that I will leave a message for. The reason I do that is because I want to make sure someone is contacting me within 24 hours. And I don't know and I know in Arizona, I'm getting 15 to 20 robocalls a day for the election, plus numerous text messages. If I don't know the number at this point, I don't pick up because it's excessive how many phone calls we're receiving. And so I leave a message and it goes something like, do you want me to go through what I say?
Yeah, I think that would be super good for a lot of the new people out there and even people who've been here a while. Yeah, just go through exactly what you say.
So if I'm leaving a message, I add something in about, about why I'm calling them and leaving a message. If they pick up, I just use this exact script that's on the digital lead form. So it's typed at the top of the digital lead form. You can get that when you receive the lead. I won't waste your time and read that out loud to you. But I think the biggest thing is making sure that when you're speaking to someone, I always try to do this as instead of saying, hello, Elijah, like a question. Yeah. I always say it like I know you. I'm very confident in, this lead right here in front of me is James Miller. So I'm not going to call him Mr. Miller. I'm going to sound like a telemarketer. I'm going to say, good morning, James. My name's Melissa, and I'm giving you a call back. And I pause after I say I'm giving you a call back because that implies I'm calling you back. You requested this phone call. Yep. And it gives them a time to kind of take a breath, and then I go into why I'm calling and right into the script. If I'm leaving a message, I'll do the same. When I'm calling, I'm listening for clues. Is it a gentleman that picks up, or is it a female? If it says James Miller on the lead, but it's a female's voice on the voicemail, I'll say, good morning, my name's Melissa, and I'm giving you and James a call back. So it's still not using I'm not saying Mrs. Miller. I'm saying I'm giving you and James a call back. I think that just implies that there's a more personal relationship, like I have information in front of me of who I'm calling back. And then I just say, hi, this is Melissa Banning, and I'm giving you and James a call back. You had requested information online on Symmetry Financial Group's website about mortgage insurance, and I say the date and the time because it's time stamped on the lead. So on this morning at 8 a.m. And I'm just giving you a call back to follow up with you. I know that Susan already left you a message because it will tell you who from Symmetry followed up with them. I know Susan from our corporate office has already called and told you that somebody would follow up with you. That someone is me. I'm your case manager and field underwriter here in Maricopa County. And I'm just giving you a call to confirm a few things so that I can get that information out to you right away. And if I'm leaving a message, I'll say, I know that I'm getting about 15 to 20 robocalls a day or solicitations a day from unknown numbers. And if I don't know the number, I don't personally pick up. So I just wanted you to know that I'm calling from my personal cell phone. I'm calling you back. And again, I just need to confirm a few things. There's a few things missing on your form here for me to get you started.
Yeah.
Please give me a call back. I'm also going to follow up with you via email. The email, I say that via the email that you provided, so that they know that they've provided it. With my contact information. I look forward to getting this information out to you quickly. And hang up. Super laid back. I make sure that it's kind of like, impromptu. I don't read it like it's a script.
Yep.
And I just establish why I'm calling. I establish that I'm calling them back, kind of low key, like, hey, I'm getting a bunch of robocalls. I wouldn't pick up anyways if I were you. Hey, just give me a call back, kind of thing.
So a couple highlights for people out here taking notes that I'm noticing. She's doing a few things. The first is she's following the script. If you're new, you're just getting started dialing, or maybe you've been dialing for a little bit and your results are like a roller coaster, it might be because you sound different on the phone from one phone call to the next. The second thing that she's doing that I know when I first started I wouldn't do is call the lead. I would get a lead and not call it because I was nervous, and she's calling right away. The third thing that she's doing is she's being nonchalant about it. She's not thinking she's a telemarketer, because Melissa's not. She's a business professional helping a family who specifically asked for the product that we sell. And so that influences the posture with which she calls that family. That's huge. And so jot down those three things. And then what I'm going to cover in just a second here is just a couple field tips for this lead type. If you've never worked in internet a lead, here at Symmetry, one of the biggest value propositions of our company in comparison to others is all of the leads are managed in-house. And the biggest perk of that is they're quality controlled. And so the leads aren't coming from random vendors that are sold to 12 different people at the same time. Like they're managed in-house, and they're generated a few different ways. We have the mail-in mortgage protection leads. We have a couple different classes of those. We have call-ins, and then we've got these internet A leads. And knowing how they're generated is going to help influence the slight fine-tuned nuances of what you say on the phone. And so with the mortgage protection lead, that's a mailer. They physically mailed it in. And so when you call somebody on a mortgage protection lead, you're not saying, hey, you filled this out online, because they didn't. With a call-in lead, I know when I was working call-in leads and I first started getting them, I would tell people, hey, you filled this out and sent it in. And I would get a whole bunch of pushback saying, no, we never did that. They didn't. They called in. On these, the way that they're generated is when somebody goes online. I know if you're shopping online, you start getting banner ads for all kinds of stuff related to that. These people are looking for mortgage protection. They maybe just refinanced. They started getting some ads maybe on Facebook or social media or just Google. These people Googled mortgage protection. Symmetry Financial Group is one of the top 3 that comes up. And so they go onto our website. And if you just go onto Symmetry Financial Group's website, it says a little bit about mortgage protection. There's a little request a quote tab. These people clicked that. And then it's a little questionnaire. Don't go do this if you're an agent, because it'll generate a lead for somebody. But this is how they're generated. And they fill out a little questionnaire. It'll ask them their address, name, age, sometimes their birthday, their mortgage amount that they're looking for. They don't always fill that one out, but they're generated pretty quick. And so here's something though that I would say is a game changer between what the results Melissa's getting now versus when she first started getting these, is you got to call them fast. And the reason for that is if you're actively looking for something and you're shopping around, you're not going to just shop around at one source. I doubt these people are just going to go on Symmetry Financial Group's website. They're going to go on a couple. And so they're going to get a couple people potentially reaching out to them. And the difference maker is who gets there first. And also, Symmetry is not the only company out here generating internet leads. There's a lot out there. And so these people may start getting inundated on different web browsers for mortgage protection. And so you want to be quick, because these people are ready to buy mortgage protection. It's not something that they just got kind of crossed in their mail and they saw it and said, oh yeah, we might need this, honey. It was, no, we got on Google and searched mortgage protection. So that's how they're generated. And my favorite thing about it is it shows the timestamp. And so they're not instant because it takes a little bit for Symmetry's lead department to actually vet the lead. They call them. Sometimes they'll leave a voicemail. Sometimes they'll actually talk with the client and figure out if it's mortgage protection or life insurance they're looking for. And it tells you the time that it came in and who they spoke with. And so I do the same thing Melissa does when I call. If I end up leaving a voicemail, which this is the only lead type I do this on, would never recommend leaving a voicemail. It's just my personal preference because you don't get callbacks. Is I let them know like, hey, you filled this out Monday at about 4 o'clock or whatever time it is. And you may get it a couple hours later. The most recent I've gotten, Melissa, I want to pick your brain on this. The quickest I've got is like within an hour. Like I got one lead and it said this client, like if today's Thursday at 11, it'd be like this client filled it out Thursday at 10 a.m. And I'm pretty quick. What's the quickest you've gotten them?
Mine, because maybe I'm a different time zone. I'm in Phoenix. It's about 2 to 3 hours typically, because I'm guessing it's coming into Symmetry early in the morning. Someone from Symmetry's checking it and vetting it, and then I'm getting it a little bit later in the morning, typically.
They're pretty quick though. Whereas mortgage protection, mortgage protection A leads sometimes take a week, 2 weeks, and so this is quick, and they're pretty good. I've not gotten anybody, and by anybody, I literally mean no one. I've not called a single internet A lead and they said, I don't remember doing that, or I'm not one. The only objection I've gotten is there've been a couple where it was a bad phone number. That's really it. And so couple field tips on this lead type that you'll just want to apply. It's nothing drastic. The biggest game changers in this business that give you the slight edge are the 1% differences in tactics or behavior. And so the first one is you're going to want to call these things fast. Now, for people who dial on 1 or 2 days during the week, this is going to be the biggest hurdle for you to overcome. Because if you're dialing on just Friday or Saturday and you get this lead on Wednesday, if you wait a couple days, don't be surprised if they've already gotten coverage. Like it's a fast turnaround time. And so it may throw a little bit of a wrench in your dial schedule. Personally, for me, I dial whenever, wherever. I dial 6 days a week sometimes. And so when I get it, you'll get a little text alert in an email letting you know, hey, you have a lead. And the reason you get a text alert is they want you to be quick. These families need help. And if you dilly-dally on it, somebody's going to get to it first. The next one is on the lead. Symmetry couldn't have made it easier for us, Melissa, could they? They literally put the lead, or not the lead, the script on top of the lead. And this one's a little bit different. Instead of saying, this is so-and-so from the Mortgage Protection Center, I say, this is Elijah Corujo calling you from Symmetry Financial Group, getting back to you about a request you did on our website regarding some mortgage protection life insurance. And so it's a little bit different. I read that script verbatim, and sometimes I'll mention the timestamp. And then one thing that I do, Todd wanted me to mention this, is when these people get on our website, we do a lot here at Symmetry. We don't just do mortgage protection. And so some of these people are looking for something different. And I specifically ask them, after I verify all the info, I ask them, hey, Melissa, so when you got on there, were you looking mainly for mortgage protection, or was it life insurance you were looking into?
Exactly. I do the same thing.
Yeah. And then I'll go a step further. Or go ahead.
It's about half and half with my family. Some are just looking for life insurance. Some are looking for mortgage protection, life insurance. So yeah. I always ask that as well at the beginning of the call.
Yeah. And I don't ask, are you interested or do you want this? I say, which one? Which one? If they say mortgage protection, I say, okay, great. What's the amount we're looking at covering? Is it like, what is your mortgage amount? I'll verify whether or not they're a smoker. I'll get their health info. Sometimes I'll even ask what their budget is. I don't always do that, but I get the specifics on that. And then here's the game-changing question, and we'll both build on this in just a little bit, is I ask them, what was the main concern you had when you filled this out? What was it you were looking for this coverage to do for you? What was the main concern you had, and who were you looking to cover? What was the main concern, and who was it you were looking for to put coverage on? Because that kind of builds, it lays the foundation for the why before you run your appointment. And what that does is it puts importance on why they're meeting with you, especially if it's a virtual appointment. Another thing that I do is if Melissa was an internet lead and I call her, I'm booking the appointment on the first contact. Okay. I don't say, hey, let me get some info together and I'll follow up with you. I book it on the first contact for the same day or the next day. Okay. So if I'm calling her today, I'm booking it for Thursday afternoon or evening, sometimes within an hour, or sometime Friday. I do not book past that. I know Ben Miller and John Paul, and you, Melissa, too. I don't think any of us that were on the call yesterday are booking more than 2 days out on virtual appointments. And so I book it the same day or the next day. And I'm also a one sit closer. And so I'm not booking a bunch of follow-up stuff. And so that's something that I'm doing. If you're not getting success on internet A leads, it's for a combination of reasons. One, you may not be calling early. It's a really easy thing to fix. Or you're saying something on the phone on the initial phone call, like you mailed this in or you called in, and they didn't do that. And so it may just shut down the script right there for you. And so the biggest thing is if you're dialing on just like 1 or 2 days during the week, you're going to need to stretch your schedule a little bit. But the cool part is these leads are super profitable and the close ratio is pretty high, like really, really high. I just learned yesterday mine was 70%. I didn't know it was that high. And I think yours is like 67, 68, something like that.
If I go off of what I've been doing recently, like since July 22nd, it's 75%. But if you take the overall like number, because it was pretty
Yeah.
bad at the beginning.
I mean, it'll ebb and flow. 75 is, I mean, that's freaking awesome.
Yeah,
and so
for it.
And all you did different was call at a different time. That could not be an easier thing to change. And when you call leads, it's not something that takes forever. You're not getting a big old batch of internet leads. You get 1 or 2 at a time. At least that's how I've gotten it. And I'll stop whatever I'm doing. I've called them while I'm driving before, and I'll just call them right there. It takes about 3 minutes and book the appointment right there. And
Elijah,
so,
have you had anybody who is not able to set the appointment within the 24-hour period so far with this type of lead? And
I've
so,
not.
how would you handle that one?
Yeah. I've not gotten it on this lead type simply because these people are shopping. And when people are shopping, they're ready to buy. It's not something they're just wanting to get quotes. I've not gotten anybody yet who's just saying, hey, I was just looking for quotes. But if I did, the way I would approach it, if I got somebody who's like, no, I just cannot do that far, I would say, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to put something on the calendar, and I'm going to send them an email confirmation right there. I'm going to book it into a Zoom appointment, and I have the Zoom link ready right there. And I say, I need you to do me a couple things or do me a couple favors. I've got about 15 families I'm seeing in the next couple of days. I want to make sure I can help them all. I don't normally do this, but we can book it a couple of days out. I need you to promise me, though, you're not going to forget about me, because time, if you miss your appointment, that's time away from a family I could be helping. And I'm kind of savage. Like, I mean, that it's like borderline, like, look, dude, you cannot miss this. And if you do, like, just know it's costing somebody else. And so I rarely ever book that far out. If I do, I call the day before on virtual appointments for internet leads. So yeah. Melissa, here's a question that Todd wanted us to cover here that I think would be really valuable to people out here. In terms of virtual sales, I know you've been pretty much 100% virtual. And I've learned recently we're rare. A lot of people moved all the way back into running in the field. I don't know about you, but I was running 4 hours away sometimes to drive. I live in Virginia. I would drive to Delaware to run appointments occasionally. And that's a 3-4 hour drive one way. And I would drive back the same day sometimes. And so when virtual sales came up, yes, it scared the crap out of me when I first started because I didn't know if it was going to work. But it was something I quickly latched onto and said, I don't know if I'm ever going to run back in person. And so when it comes to booking virtual appointments, how do you improve show ratio? And yeah, we'll just start with that. How do you improve show ratio and hammer it down?
There's basically 5 things that I do in my telesales script. This is part of our agency telesales script that is the tie down at the end. So when I'm booking it, I always say to them, prior to COVID, I would have, I'm the field underwriter. So my job is to make sure that you qualify for the program or plan that we're going to pick out to cover you both. And I'm very assumptive. The program or plan we are going to be, picking out. Typically, before COVID, we would have met in person. However, in light of what's going on, we're encouraged to meet with you via video conference. And I don't call it Zoom, I just call it a video conference. That way I can verify your health information, your photo ID, your date of birth, and then I can go over the information and explain it to you. I don't give them the option of a phone call. You say a video conference, and I'll say, what is the best time to typically catch you and John at home together? And they tell me, and then I say, would this time or this time be better? So the first thing I do is ask them. So that's the first step, is asking them what time would be better.
Yep.
And then, and I'll say, okay, perfect. I'm going to slide you into the slot. Please grab a pen and paper. So I ask them to confirm what time works best for them. I have them grab a pen and paper. They write it down, and I have them write down the 3 things they're going to need for that meeting. So the photo ID.
Write that down if you're new. That's a good
Yeah.
nugget there.
The photo ID, the photo ID or driver's, any type of photo ID, the prescription medication list or the actual bottles, and then the name, address, and phone number of their primary care doctor. That just kind of establishes what we're going to be doing in the meeting, because I tell them in this meeting, we're going to be confirming your health information, because my job is to make sure you qualify for the program. There is no medical exam. However, they do look at your background, your prescription background, your medical background. I want to make sure that they know that going into the meeting, that we're going to be looking at that, because I've had a lot of people who are like running to the cabinet to get their medications out. And then, so the second thing is to write it down. And then the third thing I'll say, so what time did we say that did we decide on was best for you? I asked them to repeat it. That's the third thing. And then I say, okay, give me a second. I'm going to send you the video conference link. I send the link right then and there while we're still on the phone.
Yep.
Previously, I was waiting till after I hung up with them, because I didn't want to keep them on the line for an extra few minutes, and my show ratio was not as good. So I send the email to them. I have them open the email. And my population, about 90%, maybe a little bit higher, are 65 plus, because I'm in Arizona. So I have a lot of snowbirds here. And so I make sure that they open it, that they see that blue link, and I walk them through, if they're elderly or not tech savvy, how to, in my email, it's a canned email, and I just copy and paste it into there. And then I put their name. I type the date out. So if it's someone who is tech savvy, they can just click on that and put it in their e-calendar or their Google Calendar. But the email has the link, and it has, the 3 things that they'll need for the meeting. And then I say to them, at the bottom of my email is my phone number. Just remember that, because if you have trouble logging on, just give me a call, and I'll be waiting for you. That way, that's kind of a visual reminder for them if they do have, because I do have some people who can't get on, and I don't want them to not get on and not know that they were having trouble getting on, thinking that they just blew me off. So they write it down. I send them the email. We confirm that they've received the email. And then, so that's the 4th thing, is the email. And then I say, John and Mary, is 7 o'clock on Monday definitely a time that works for both of you?
Yep, you confirm it right there.
And then I'll say to them, is there any reason that you can think of that 7 o'clock on Monday would not work for you? And I wait for them to respond. I want them to give me the commitment. For a long time, I was a caregiver for my 97-year-old grandmother, and I was paying someone to care for her while I was running appointments. And I would tell people, I have a caregiver coming to the home today to care for my grandmother while I'm doing these. So it's really crucial that you're at that appointment. Now I just, I give something real about myself to make sure that they understand. I'll say, I'm a mom, and I'm juggling childcare and kids doing online schooling. So it's, if you can't make that appointment, it's really important that we fill that time slot for someone else. I have more families to get to serve than I can actually get to. So I don't want to, that time slot to go to someone, to you, and when it could go to someone else if you can't make it. So if for some reason it's not going to work out, let me know. And then
that's a scary question to ask too.
Yeah.
If you're new and you don't have a lot of appointments on the calendar, I don't want to say you're faking a posture of being busy. I know I don't, because I know I'm going to be busy, but I was scared to ask that question because I felt like people would say they would like not do the appointment. If I asked like, are you certain this time is going to work? I felt like I was going to get people who would chicken out. But what it did is it weeded out people who weren't going to show up anyways and allows you to book a solid appointment. Here's a question for you. How long are you on the phone typically booking a virtual appointment?
Remember, I'm working with mainly seniors who haven't talked to someone all day sometimes. This is the hardest part of my dial sessions. I have people who want to just chit chat, and I can be on the phone with someone for a good 20, 25 minutes. It's not uncommon. So I have to really lead that call through, like with the medication. I mean, I have pages sometimes on my client qualification form of medications and health things. So, and that's one thing that even though I've been doing this for 4 years, I consistently fill out the client qualification form for every single family, their health information, when it was this is important, guys, write this down. New people, super important for planning for your appointments. What condition is it? When was it diagnosed, and how are you being treated? That is what the carriers are going to want to know for every single health condition. So we're talking about, heart conditions, lung conditions, diabetes, cancer, stroke. When was it diagnosed? How are you being treated? Is it, a medication, or is it just blood work? What is it? And then when was the last time you took that medication? And I always follow up at the end. Now, those are the medications you're currently taking. Anything else? And I'll ask anything else a couple times. And I follow up with, are there any medications or any treatments that you've had in the last 7 years that you didn't mention?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times what we get stuck on with underwriting is that, and I know that's more the underwriting side, but I think that's important to gather. Preparation breeds confidence, and confidence builds trust with your families. If I'm fumbling with my phone to text my upline, what product this guy has COPD, oh crap, and you're texting, or you're frantically looking through, agent guides, or trying to figure out what plan, they can sense that nervous energy, and you're not focused on building rapport with them. And it's already a challenge over virtual sales to build rapport. So if you come into that appointment 100% sure on what plan you're going to be doing, what the living benefits are, so you can clearly state what they are to them, educate them about how this is different than life insurance, how the living benefits can benefit them, and you're confident, you're going to be able to focus more on building relationship, joking around with them, getting to know who they are and building the emotion, not on the product. And I can't stress that enough. A lot of agents just go into the appointment and kind of wing it. And I still, for every single family, the night before, I prep how much equity is in their property, because I focus on that, what their house is currently worth, and the living benefits that go along with each of their plans. And I run mock numbers, even though I've been doing it for that many, for 4 years. Before I go into the appointment, I know the direction I'm going to be going, and I'm steering the ship of which direction we're going to be going based on what I know the prices are going to be for the, I'm kind of have an idea going into it what their budget's going to be.
That's good.
I think
and what that does too is that locks down your appointment really well, because you're on the phone with them. Me personally, if I'm booking a virtual appointment, I'm on the phone with them for about 6 to 8 minutes. You get occasionally those talkers. I'm not good at it. So I rarely am on the phone that long. So
they're telling me about their life stories. They're telling me about their kids who've lost their jobs. I'm kind of getting information. I'm building rapport and getting information that's going to help me for the sale on the phone. It's something that's just natural for me. That's important. It's, it could be my demographic because of the age of them, but a lot of it is just who I am. I don't see this as a transaction. I see this as my grandmother or my aunt or my parents or someone that I care about that I'm going to be protecting. And I want to know going into it who they are, what we're covering, why this is important to them. So I do dig a little bit into that on the phone. A lot of people don't do that, but I think that that's what makes JP talked about this yesterday on the national call. When they go into that appointment, they're excited to meet you because they've already gotten to like you over the phone.
That's huge.
And I can't tell you how many people I think just show up to the appointment because they're lonely and they're excited to meet Melissa. And there's nothing special about me. I don't do anything special in the home. But I think that they can sense that I really do care, because I do. I lost a home in 2008 and lost almost 60K in equity. So I
Mm,
treat every family like that. That,
that's
this is something valuable that they're protecting.
Yeah. The only thing I do different in terms of how to lock down a virtual appointment, because when all this virtual stuff first hit the fan, my show ratio was like 30-40%. I would book 10 appointments in a day and 4 would show up. Like it was rough. Um, the thing that I changed is I would do what you do. And if you're tech savvy, I wouldn't recommend this if you're not tech savvy. And if you're not tech savvy because you struggled to get on the Zoom link. But what I do is I have Zoom merged with my Google Calendar. And you can do that. Zoom is an add-on to Google. You just go to Google, type in Zoom Google Calendar add-on. It merges it. I think you need a professional account with Zoom in order to do that. It's like $14. And when I book an appointment, I've got them on the phone. And when you create an event, you can make it a Zoom event. It creates a personalized link right there that needs a password. I always make the password their phone number because they're not going to forget it. And I email it to them right there. And I simply ask them, hey, Melissa, can you tell me what time does it say at the top? Does it say 11 tomorrow? And they're like, yep, perfect, done deal. When I did that, my show ratio went from 30 to 40% to like 80 to 90. Sometimes some weeks I have 100% show ratio. And if you can just get people to show up, like this business is getting in front of people. They all want it. It's just a game of who can get in front of the most. And that's a really easy way to lock it down and have people show up. So far, if you're taking notes, we've covered Melissa's first experience with internet leads, how she turned it around, couple field tips that I've learned, how to lock down virtual appointments so people show up, because we don't want to dial just for kicks and giggles. Dialing is the least sexy part of this business, but it's also the biggest, other than recruiting, money-making activity. And so the next thing I'm going to cover is how to write more applications per lead. Now, this does a couple things. There's this term called PPL. It stands for premium per lead. Basically, it's profitability. Profitability means you make more money than you expended. Best way to do that is not just go buy more leads or invest in more leads. If you can help a family with multiple things, you become more profitable, make more money. You secured a client for life, and you're providing value. Okay, you're providing a ton of value. Best way to do that is ask the right questions. So a couple things that I ask is, do you have life insurance? You'd be shocked at how many people don't have life insurance, because we have a license to sell a bunch of stuff. One of them is mortgage protection, others life insurance, and a ton of different things. I ask them about life insurance. If they've got coverage, after I help them with mortgage protection, that's the key. After I price check their coverage, you would not believe how many people have crap policies out there. Go help them get better coverage. The next thing I do is ask them if they have burial policies. And then I ask them if they want to add on some accidental at the end. I love adding on an accidental policy just because accidents happen. It's also dirt cheap. It helps with your app count and PPL. They're issued on the spot if they're under 71. And so during the appointment where we're chatting, I'll work up a quick quote right there. And I'll say, hey, Melissa, do you want to add on accidental? You can get 50,000 for like $8 or $12, whatever it is. It's rare that somebody's like, for $8, sure, why not? They already just bought. And so it adds to it. They get another policy. And the root of that is just asking the right questions. And so if you're doing Zoom appointments, go on the Telesales training tab and download the Zoom PowerPoint that Symmetry had. There's a slide in the beginning that shows everything that we do under life, health, and asset management. And I ask him at the beginning of the appointment, hey, this is everything that we do. We're going to primarily focus on mortgage protection. But if you see anything on here that you want more info on, I'll circle back to it. At first glance, was there anything you want more info on? And they'll be like, yeah, what is critical illness, or what's an annuity or debt-free life? And I circle back to it later. Melissa, do you do anything specific or different from that to increase your app count per lead?
Pretty much what I do. I tell them, today we're going to focus on the mortgage protection because that's what you're asking, but this is what we do. If it's somebody who's younger and they're a good fit for DFL or something like that, then I'll I'll touch on that at the end. I'll say, you know, this is something that, you know, I'm thinking you guys would be a good candidate for, and I'll introduce that to them, kind of just plant a seed,
Yeah.
and then send them the form for them to fill out. But typically when I'm doing it, I try to add an accidental onto anyone who is under, you know, like 75. I think most of them can qualify all the way through like 79. So I add on accidental to a lot, especially for people who are doing critical period and they can only cover like, because of their health, they can only cover like one year or a year and a half of the mortgage payment. It feels more comforting to know that if there is an accidental death, it will cover a good portion of the mortgage or the entire mortgage. And then for sickness, they're covered with the critical period coverage. So it just emotionally helps them to know that there's something else in place. Disability too, I'll ask, you know, like, do you have anything through your employer that if they're still working, which most of my families are already past 65, so I don't have a lot of disability plans, but accidental is definitely one.
Mm-hmm. And here's the thing too, if you're new, a lot of times you don't know what you don't know, and therefore you don't know what questions to ask. Yeah. And so there was a training, I've been here about 2.5 years, you've been here 4 years, right? There was a training Cicely Newsom did a couple weeks ago, absolutely shattered my mind. It's on SoundCloud, or it might be on, it's one of the national call trainings. And it was titled like key questions to ask. The entire conference call focus was on questions that she asks. And when it comes to premium per lead and increasing that, or writing multiple apps in the home, I would say 9 times out of 10, you're going to write if you ask the right questions. I don't know anybody who's wrote an annuity without asking the questions to find the money. I don't know anybody who's like written an additional policy or mortgage protection without asking to book the appointment and that sort of thing. And so if you're not writing multiple apps in the home, I would say it's probably because you're not asking the right questions. And so we're going to wrap this up here in just a sec. Last thing we're going to cover is the opportunity we have with virtual sales. We've been harping on this all year since this COVID thing happened. Real quick, Melissa, how many states are you licensed in?
I think a lot, like 9 or 10, 11.
I'm licensed in 11 as well. I'm not driving to 11 states. And I would dare say you're probably not leaving your office right there with your dog.
I did last week and to go get a signature. And I was reminded of how blessed I am to be on my computer doing it from home. I ended up shattering my windshield and all. I mean, it was like a nightmare day just to go get a signature. So I'm super grateful. It's actually almost doubled my production because I can get that many more families in because of my distance of my counties. And my
probably not working any more than you were before either.
No, a lot less.
Here's the thing, guys. If you're on the fence about running virtual appointments, I know there's tons of people out there running stuff in person. Do whatever is going to work best for you as long as you're helping families. That's the key here. If you're happy and you're helping families, it don't matter how you do it. But if you're looking for a strategic business opportunity, virtual appointments are it for a couple reasons. There's no borders now. You can run an appointment from the comfort of my house. I'm in Newport News, Virginia. I'm running appointments in 6 counties in New Jersey, Delaware, North Carolina, all over Virginia, and I'm not driving anywhere. And what it's done is allowed me to condense my time frames, expand borders, because there was a period of time where I was doing my own personal 90-day madman cycle. I would run appointments on the East Coast until like 6 or 7 p.m. I picked up a bunch of leads in Clark County, Nevada, and ran appointments till 11 p.m. because of the 3-hour time difference. And so if you wanted to, or if you don't have, like, say, the inventory in your area, go pick up a license in another state and run Zoom appointments. It doesn't really require anything other than getting a license in that state and doubling down on this opportunity. Because as big of an obstacle as COVID is, it's opened the door for an even bigger opportunity to take the borders off this business. And I was thinking about it yesterday when I had a friend of mine, or I saw somebody post on Facebook about how they're selling their furniture right now because they can't afford rent. And they can't afford their own living expenses because their hours were cut at their job because they're not as busy. And I'm so incredibly grateful for the opportunity we have, because I'm in the midst of planning a honeymoon with my fiance, and we're going to freaking Bora Bora, doing it big. And I'm not thinking about money. And I'm not thinking about money because of the incredible opportunity we have to work from home, help people with something that they need and are asking for, and do something with incredible people like Melissa Karma's watching and provide an insane amount of value. And if you're on the fence about doing it, don't overthink it. There's more than enough training that you have time to do. You just got to go start doing it. And so we've got 720 people on the call right now and 44 questions. I've got to hop off here in 15 minutes. I know you have to too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna do some Q&A. I'm gonna answer some of these. If you want to stay on too, Melissa, I think that's cool.
There was a good question that I wanted to address
Because
I don't think that we did. And the question was, since people are actively shopping, and a lot of the questions kind of went along the same theme. Since people are actively shopping and they're ready to buy, how do you overcome the conversation in the home with families of, we're just shopping around for quotes, or how do you posture yourself, Elijah, when you start with a client, so that they're not feeling the need to shop around or think about it? What is the language that you use before you go into that appointment, or before you go into prices even?
Yeah, well, I let them know a couple things. When I book the appointment, I say, if we book the appointment for, say, tomorrow at 5, I say, great, we're going to get this taken care of for you tomorrow at 5. And so they know we're getting it done. During the appointment, I let them know in the beginning, look, I'm a broker for 30 carriers. I'm not partial to any one of them. I'm partial to you and your family, which, for lack of better words, means I get to price shop for you. This is the most affordable option. And so I literally price check. I look at all the core carriers. Okay. I'm not writing stuff with random one-off carriers. And I let them know this is the most affordable.
Yep. Same.
Mm-hmm. There's a bunch of good questions out here. Somebody's asking, how do you get plugged in with the GMR? Best way to do that is talk to your upline, because it's a little bit of a process. A GMR is a geographic mailing request for a leads. It's like a lead order. Best day to buy internet leads. Honestly, they come in whenever. I've gotten them at 7 p.m. I've gotten them at 9 in the morning. You won't get them on weekends, but I buy leads whenever, and I just do it whenever I need to work and make money. And I have a schedule I stick to, and I dial at pretty much all the time. I'm not always dialing, but I dial. You'll catch me dialing at 9 in the morning. You'll catch me dialing at 1 in the afternoon or 7 p.m. Like, it's not a specific peak time. Best times in the morning or in the evening, but I don't restrict my dial time and money-making hours to that. If I need appointments, I'm dialing. What would you say to that, Melissa?
I would say that, I used to think that there were certain days that were better to dial. People were in a better mood and there's a better chance of setting an appointment and better days to run.
Mm-hmm.
I no longer feel that way. For my personal schedule, I have to kind of have days that I run appointments and then days that I do building things and mom things, etc.
Yeah.
But I do, I will say that I have found that with virtual sales, you can dial any day. Personally, I don't dial on Sundays just because that's my day of rest, and I don't like to call people on Sundays. That's my personal thing. But I do really dial every other day of the week. Especially on digital leads, I dial right away as soon as I get it. So if it comes in on a Friday, I'm calling on a Friday. If it comes in on a Tuesday, I'm calling on a Tuesday, because I want to call within hours of receiving it. As far as getting digital leads, everyone, when you have a GMR for A leads, it's not a GMR just for digital leads. It's a GMR for A leads, and as the digital leads come in, they'll allocate them into your into your lead order. So you can't do a GMR just for digital leads that I know of at this time. You don't get to pick and choose. So if I have a lead order for 15 leads and three come in during the week, then I'm not going to get 15 when my allocation comes in on Wednesday. I'm going to get the 12. Does that make sense? So you're not putting in a GMR just for digital leads. You're putting in a general GMR. So talk to your upline about that.
That's good. A bunch of people missed the tip I gave on how to increase your show ratio from like a 35 to like an 80%. what I do is I merged my Google Calendar with Zoom. Zoom is free. I pay for it because I host a lot of meetings with groups, and it gives you some like host privileges you don't get for the free version. The free version also caps out at 40 minutes, and I'm not trying to have the Zoom end in the middle of writing an app with the client. And so if you've got Google Calendar and Zoom, you have your account with Zoom, go to Google, type in Zoom, Google Calendar, what is it? What is it called? It's like Zoom Google Calendar add-on. That's what it is. And it merges the two. And
it
so
automatically takes the link and puts it into there.
Exactly. Yeah. And so when you create an event, you title it, I always title it mortgage protection appointment with whatever the client's name is. You put the time, then it gives you the option to make it a Zoom meeting. It creates a personalized link for that meeting alone that will start at that time. You can create a password. I always make the password their phone number. And then when I hit create, it sends them the email right there. They get it right then and there. They can see it's from me. They see the Zoom link, and I let them know, or I ask them, what time does it say at the top of that? And so that's what I say. Somebody also asked, what health questions do you ask? Or what was the last one? I ask, these are pretty much going to be about the same for people. Some people get really in depth with the health questions while they're booking an appointment. Me, not so much. That's just my personal preference. But I ask them, do you have any health complications like diabetes, cancer, COPD, anything like that? If they say yes to any of those, the follow-up question is, when were you diagnosed? Third is, what medications are you taking? Or I ask them to have a list of them handy during the appointment. If they've got like, if they say something like, oh, I got a bunch. I'm like, okay, no worries. Have a list of them ready, and we're going to go over that. Somebody also asked, what 3 things do you have for them to have ready during the appointment? Driver's license, list of medications, and their doctor's info is the main ones. And then
could I add something really quick?
Go for it. I'm just looking through these questions.
If they list a slew of medications and they have a bunch of health conditions, it's for people who are new, it's always good to ask them if they're retired, or if you want to find out if they're on Social Security disability or if they're on disability, because that's going to make a drastic difference between programs that you can do for them. So any injuries, any surgeries, any hospitalizations, any disabilities. And most of the time, if they're, I have a lot of veterans here in Arizona, so they'll say I'm a veteran, I'm 100% disabled. Just make a note of that so that when you're case managing with your upline or you're case managing by yourself, that you know that, because it can really make a difference between getting them approved and getting them declined. If they're under 65 and they're disabled, it's a much different route that you're gonna have to go. So just a newbie tip.
That's good. Somebody asked, this is a very simple question that I'll answer. How do you handle folks if they ask if you live in their state or out of the state for appointments? I let them know. Sometimes they'll say, why do you have a 757 number? I'm like, well, I'm calling you from Newport News, Virginia. Under normal circumstances, I'd probably be sitting across the kitchen table from you. But with this whole pandemic, we're just going to get it taken care of over Zoom. And here's something that I want everybody to take away from this. What you make a big deal is a big deal. If you make it a big deal that you're 3 states away, your client is going to think it's a big deal and be weirded out. If you're nonchalant and comfortable with it, like I am, I don't use multiple phone numbers when I call leads. I genuinely don't. I use my personal cell phone number, which I may get a business line here soon, but I use my personal cell phone number, and I call leads in 3-4 different states. If I've got a lead that is not answered and I've called that joker 20 times, I'll use a Google Voice number, but it rarely comes to that. If you're using the power dialer is awesome. You can get like, I think 7 different phone numbers, up to 7, something like that. Don't quote me on it, as you're calling leads. And so I just answered 2 questions there. How do people, a few people have asked this one. I'll let you get it, Melissa. How do people buy IA leads? How can you get them? You're muted, but yes. How do people get internet A leads?
How do agents get them?
Yeah.
I think I went over that already. Basically, when you have a GMR, and if an IA lead comes in, it'll be allocated to you. So for example, like this week I got 15 leads, and 3 of them were IA leads that I got earlier in the week. So they just come in as as they're allocated into the system, or as they come into the system, as people call in or do the request online, they come into your, and you're going to get the reason that you get a text message and an email is because it doesn't come in on Wednesday like we're used to leads coming in.
Yep.
So you just need to really, as soon as that text message comes in or that email comes in, that's your reminder to go, grab the lead out of opt and call them right away.
Love it. The last question I'll answer here is, well, this will answer quite a few questions at once. This recording is going to be posted on, if you go to the Symmetry website under training, the first thing is telesales and virtual appointments. Click that. All the recordings are down below. And so this one will be recorded, probably added by the end of the day, I would guesstimate. And there is a ton, and by ton, I mean like over 80 hours of video content on virtual appointments. You do not need to watch all 80 before you go run your first appointment, okay? Don't be a product expert and need to know everything about everything when it comes to insurance with all 30 carriers before you go write an appointment or write an app, okay? If you do that, you will go broke before you learn this. You don't need to know everything to get started. You're gonna learn the most by getting in front of people. And so the best piece of advice I could give anybody out there is don't overanalyze it. Pick up the phone, go get a batch of leads, whatever your budget is. My first lead batch, I remember buying it because it was a lot of money to me. It was $50 worth. That's all I could afford. Go invest in some leads, call those families, use the phone script on the Symmetry website, go through the training and help them and be yourself. Don't feel like you need to be like me or Melissa. Be you and be authentic and go help those people. And we'll have a great week. And then if feel free to reach out to me on Facebook if you've got questions. I'm definitely not posting my number out here, but I wouldn't be able to dial. But feel free to reach out to me if you have a question that didn't get answered. And also reach out to your upline with questions because that's what they're here for. And they know you and your story and where you're at more than me or Melissa do. And so they may have a better answer for you than we would give. And so reach out to them and hope you guys have an awesome week. See ya.
Have a great day.